Will the newest card to enter Marvel Snap be a rock star, or will it hit rock bottom? Find out what's going on as I hereby invite everyone to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So we got a brand new card this week, and that card is Moonstone. Moonstone grew up in the mansions of a Hollywood producer, and after her father died, her mother worked 3 jobs to put her through college, and she vowed to never end up like her mother and that she would always put her needs first. Despite building a successful practice as a psychologist and psychiatrist, she so disliked being dependent on her patients for income that she entered the supercriminal world and got a hold of an extraterrestrial gravity stone of considerable power. Moonstone's powers are the result of this fusion with the gravity stone that was designed by the Kree. After it was absorbed into her body, the stone gave her a form of energy that now permeates through her whole nervous system. She can use the gravity stone to fly and to become intangible and pass through solid objects. She can project laser energy beams from her hands, and her bond with the gravity stone grants her superhuman strength, stamina, speed, reflexes, as well as an enhanced healing power. Moonstone will often not even use her powers to get things done, as even without them, she still has an extensive knowledge of psychiatry and psychology and has a medical doctorate specializing in them. As a founding member of the Dark Avengers, she often uses this expertise to manipulate those around her for personal gain. However, she occasionally has shown not to be the most skilled as she believes that she is, resulting in her having been manipulated by others who are more experienced in this field. Moonstone fights dirty and in anger. She will never hesitate to endanger innocence and wantonly manipulates the psychologically vulnerable, even if that ends up being more of a problem than it solves. She is smart and cunning, but it takes a lot to stay in charge, and her expertise has been brought into question more than once, as she definitely makes mistakes and has a tendency to sabotage herself out of power, lust, greed, insecurity, or bitterness. Moonstone merged with an alien rock, and once she did, she became a control freak and had nearly limitless power, including superhuman strength, speed, agility, durability, flight, control of gravity, intangibility, and she can shoot laser blasts from her hands that are powerful enough to penetrate through a 2-inch piece of steel in a second. She is also particularly skilled in using hypnosis and is a well-trained psychologist and psychiatrist, making her able to make heroes with weak minds do bad things. Moonstone is a control freak with nearly limitless power granted to her by a gravity stone, who often uses her expertise to manipulate those that are weaker than her for personal gains. This is represented in Marvel Snap, as she will manipulate those at her location that have a similar power to her but are weaker for her own personal gain. So in Marvel Snap, what this card does is it's a 4 cost, 6 power with the description of ongoing. She has the ongoing effects of your other 1, 2, and 3 cost cards that are played in her lane. All in all, as I went through her and I started going through her, I honestly feel that she's a 2-star card, and I think I'm almost being generous by giving her that 2-star rating. And I know that's a little bit harsh to say, but let me go over some of the reasons why. Right now, as it stands, one of the best cards that you might be able to get with her that's a 1, 2, or 3 drop is the new Mr. Fantastic that just got the buff. Other than the new Mr. Fantastic that just got a buff, there's not too much that really works with her. If you look at her just as a power spike, she's at the same power spike as the thing. And the problem with using the Mr. Fantastic as the charge card for her is simply the fact that once you set up that, first of all, it's got to be put in the middle, which is always a pain to do. But once you start setting up that, if anybody knows what they're doing, all they have to do is play an enchantress or a rogue, and they will really wreck your ability. What you're trying to do is you're really trying to make this work like a mini onslaught that works on the 1s, 2s, or 3s. The problem is that most of the 1s, 2s, and 3s aren't worldwide effects. You have a few like Patriot, but that's really about it. What you're trying to do at a certain degree is kind of get Mystique in her. So you can do like something on turn 5, play the Blue Marvel, and then on turn 6, play the Mystique into her lane so that you can kind of get the ability off of that. Which kind of gives her this limiting ability of you can't ever bring her down to 3. Because if you bring her down to 3, then she can automatically work with Mystique, and you can just play both on turn 6. Also, I'm not sure how that would work with her being in control of 1s, 2s, and 3s. That gives her a very limited niche that's currently going on right now. A very limited window of buffs and nerfs that can happen to her. Now, while it's nice to talk about cards that can happen in the future, and sometimes you can even like steal a Super Scroll or put a Super Scroll in her lane and then play the Mystique on 7 with the magic. The problem is I can't judge cards on where they might be a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. I have to judge a card on where it sits right here, right now, today. And as it sits right here, right now, today, there's not too many cards it works with. If you really go through the ongoings, you look at 1s, 2s, and 3s. Let's take this to an ongoing on 1s, 2s, and 3s. You're not getting too much. You got stuff like Ant-Man. You don't want to play the Ebony Maw. The Cerebro is like one of your best bets. Other than that, maybe Dazzler, but Dazzler only pumps up her lane. That's the thing. On the 1s, 2s, and 3s, other than Mr. Fantastic, nothing is activating on second lane. All your activate stuff that goes into second lanes starts happening on their 4s, 5s, and 6s. But the reason that they didn't want to put her on a 4, 5, or 6 is because it didn't work way too well with Onslaught. They had to be careful about where they put this. Now, once you get to your 4s, 5s, and 6s, you got some good stuff in here. But the thing is none of this works with the 4s, 5s, and 6s. One of the cards that you may want to use with her, if you do have her, or if you do get her, I should say, is you want to look at on the 2s, right? The Victoria Hand. Victoria Hand is one of her better abilities. So if you play the Victoria Hand on 2, or you play her on 6 with the actual card, you can play her as a 4 and then play Victoria Hand as a 6. It'll double up that, which gives all your stuff that didn't start your hand plus 4 power. So there is some world where this exists and you can get some good power off of it. You can also go magic and just play the Mr. Fantastic, and then play the Onslaught, and then play the Mystique. And that's pretty dangerous at that point. So there is a world in which you can get power, But you gotta really jump through hoops. It's pretty much the same hoops that you gotta jump through to make Living Tribunal work. Other than that card this week, we get some really good cards this week, sort of. Black Swan, which still needs some sort of buff to it. The one drops still aren't worth really having, but you can still have this in a lot of good bounce stuff. And Nocturne, which kind of needs its one power back to get where it needs to go. Neither one of these are bad cards, but neither one of these are cards that I'd be jumping up and down to getting. They're 1 point away from being good, though, so if they're ever buffed in the future, you'll be glad that you have it. We're still going to roll to see what we get, because this is how we make content, so let's find out what's inside our box. Box is Moonstone. Alright, so we'll actually be playing a Moonstone deck tomorrow. If you want to watch me, I'll be doing that on Twitch TV. I'll have my drops up and running. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.